All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about Jaron Ennis, Errol Spence Jr., and the rest of the welterweight division. So let's do that in this video. All right, it's your boy Fanon. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please feel free to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and also when you're done in the video or anytime during the video, please leave a comment in the comment section. I try to get to the comments in the comment section a lot of times, but there's really good conversations that go on there, so make sure you do that. In this video, we're going to talk about something that Dibella said after the fight that took place last weekend with Jaron Ennis versus Thomas Delorme. And it's what a lot of people are saying and believing. Some people are thinking it's jumping the gun a little bit, but Dibella said that he didn't believe that any of the fighters at 147 pounds were going to be fighting Errol Spence Jr. because he didn't believe that those guys could beat Jaron Ennis. And that includes the welterweight champion, the two belt holding welterweight champion, Errol Spence Jr., then Terrence Crawford, who has a WBO, and I assume obviously he's talking about Yordenis Ugas. Now, for me, I find that to be, I find that interesting, man, in a really tough situation for me, because first, it's really clear that Errol Spence Jr. right now, that Jaron Ennis right now is very well maybe walking into being the boogeyman in the division, but it's not something that I would give him yet because of the fact that, for several reasons. One, everybody at the top of the division already has other fighters that they're supposed to be fighting to kind of sort out, who the best champion is. And that, the fight that we've been talking about for several years between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, you got Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter that's taking place, right? So those guys not fighting Jaron Ennis, I don't believe that necessarily means that they are avoiding Jaron Ennis. I just think that it's just that Jaron Ennis is emerging as a fighter, at such a fast pace that a lot of people are going to say, hey, obviously he can beat everybody down here, the lower level fighters. Let's just cut to the chase and see what he's going to do against the top level fighters. So for myself personally, I think Jaron Ennis is clearly the best fighter in the welterweight division that's not a champion. And I also think that Jaron Ennis is probably the most talented of any fighter that is at welterweight right now. However, that's not the same thing as saying that Jaron Ennis is going to beat everybody right now in that division, because there are some things that those guys have that Jaron Ennis does not have, and that is, the most obvious one is experience, right? Errol Spence Jr. is a much more experienced fighter at that level than Jaron Ennis right now. Now, if you look at their fights, and the interesting thing is if you look at the resume of Jaron Ennis, or you go to BoxRec and read, look at the people that he fought, or look at the number of fights that he's had. As of the last fight, I think Jaron Ennis has actually had more professional fights than Errol Spence Jr. has, but he's just not had as many top-level fights as Errol Spence Jr. has. Also, you look at Terrence Crawford, the same thing goes for Terrence Crawford. He's not had, the championship-level experience that Terrence Crawford has had. And in life, man, experience really does mean a lot. These guys have very experienced camps. They're clearly right now have an eye on Jaron Ennis. They're going to know what Jaron Ennis likes to do. And these guys are very good at adapting in the ring, and they got a lot of confidence about themselves. And, none of these guys are going to go away, once you tap them a couple times, kind of like Thomas Delorme did. At least I don't think that they would do that. So when Dibella says that he believes that that Jaron Ennis will beat Errol Spence Jr. or beat Terrence Crawford, I want to say, hold up on that a little bit. Let's see him. Let me be clear on this. Before I would predict that he will win the fight, I would say that I needed to see more from Jaron against that level, that second tier of upper level fighters like Sean Porter, like Keith Thurman, like Yordenis Ugas. those type of guys, I would have to, if he was able to blow those guys out, that level of fighter out, then I would say, okay, man, I probably would pick him over Terrence Crawford. I'm not sure if I'm going to ever predict that he's going to beat Errol Spence Jr. And that the reason that I say that is really it's a style matchup thing for me and for Errol Spence Jr. and Jaron Ennis. And it's the same reason that even though I can see a lot of things in Terrence Crawford that I think are, really good about Terrence Crawford, and there's a lot of versatility in his game, there's a lot of speed in his game, there's a lot of power in his game. And this goes pretty much for any really, really good pressure fighter. I think pressure makes pipes bust. And when you have a guy that is very defensively sound like Errol Spence Jr. and who is from a southpaw stance, who is very aggressive and defensively responsible at the same time, and also can go and fight on the back foot as well, that is a very, very difficult recipe because you're going to have to beat that guy because he's going to be in your chest the whole time, taking a bunch of shots at you. He's going to make you work at a work rate that you may not be used to. He's definitely going to be touching your body, and as the rounds go on, you may start wearing down. And so until I see Jaron Ennis, maybe against if he was able to run through a Yordanis Ugas who fights with a similar style in that regard to Errol Spence, I may be feeling more comfortable with that, man, because I really do think that Jaron Ennis is a very, very special fighter. Now, as far as, him beating these guys right now, I think he's ready to fight them. That's what I will say. If they made the fight with Jaron Ennis and Errol Spence Jr. tomorrow, I think Jaron Ennis is going to be as good a competition for Errol Spence Jr. as anybody else that there is in boxing, that there is in that weight class, save maybe a Terrence Crawford. Same thing for Terrence Crawford. If Jaron Ennis were to fight to get in the ring with Terrence Crawford, I think that, that is as dangerous a fight or more dangerous a fight than, any of the other guys that Terrence Crawford is going to fight, not named Jaron Ennis. But, I'm really happy about the whole scenario, and I continue to do videos about it and talk about it because I think that when all of the dust clears and settles in 147 pounds between the top guys, that Jaron Ennis is going to be the guy that is sitting there that everybody else is going to have to go to and everybody's going to have to fight. But, to be honest, I think that it's fair to say that there are things that Jaron Ennis still needs to do in order to truly secure those fights, which is, obviously to headline his own card, right? Before Errol Spence Jr. got to Kell Brook, Errol Spence Jr. was headlining his own cards. Right now, he's up from Showbox, right? But he's maybe maybe a fight or two fights off of Showbox. I think, man, Jaron Ennis, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jaron Ennis was on the card on the undercard of Clarissa Shields maybe a couple fights ago, but now he's on main Showtime after this performance that he had with Thomas Delorme. I hope that Steven Espinoza and these guys give him a feature fight, and after a couple feature fight, then I think once the buzz is up behind them, that these other guys they'll actually have the money. They'll have the monetary justification for fighting them. Because right now, the monetary justification is not there for him. The monetary and the belt justification is not there for him. So he's going to have to do those things, headline the cards, force himself into a mandatory position. But once he's in that mandatory position, look, man, I'm not saying he can't beat these guys. I'm just saying I wouldn't favor him to do it at this point in time. But at the same time, man, I don't feel super comfortable with him getting in the ring with either one of these guys. I'm a fan of Errol Spence Jr., will admit that, man. And if I saw a Jaron Ennis and that fight was made, I'm telling you, I would wake up nervous. However, like Georgia Peach said, a subscriber of mine that comes by the channel, is like, there's also that chance that, he may be doing a situation like Erickson Lubin when Erickson Lubin fought Jermell Charlo. But I just don't see Jaron Ennis. I think he's a level above Erickson Lubin, in any way, shape, or form. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and please leave a comment in the comment section Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already done that. And with that, I'm out. Peace.